Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the Talking City podcast from the Manchester Evening News, sponsored by NordVPN. Visit nordvpn.com/talkingcity to get 4 extra months on Nord's 2-year plan. No risk with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. Look at the episode description for this podcast and you can see that link again. NordVPN will help you when you're abroad to tune in to all the Manchester City games you might be missing back at home. So if you happen to be out of the country for a Champions League game, you can still watch them, which Simon Bajkowski smoothly brings us on to the Champions League draw.
It was very smooth, that.
I thought it was good, that. Yeah. Just thought
that
straight away.
Yeah. As smooth as NordVPN, do we say? Is that the line? Or
well, we can do now. I'm
sure
they'll appreciate it.
Yeah.
An extra mention for them.
Yeah.
So can't go wrong, can we? We'll just drop their name in every 5 minutes or so. I'm sure they'll stay on board. Champions League draw in Monaco on Thursday.
Yes.
Some interesting stories for Manchester City, I guess. What do you make of the draw? What's your takeaway?
It's an easier draw than last season, I think. That would be my first takeaway. There is no trip to Kazakhstan, would be my second takeaway. Or Azerbaijan. And yeah, it's kind of, thirdly, there's a lot of small stadiums for the away trips, so I think there's a lot of fans going to be disappointed. But then, yeah, it's kind of like a who's who of who's going to be coming back to the Etihad, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. And that's start with that, I guess. City, Real Madrid, again, we'll come on to that now. I think we're all bored of that now, aren't we? 5 years in a row. I thought it was fitting that was the very first fixture that actually came out of the computer. City, Real Madrid.
I was surprised it wasn't every fixture. Like, this is all of it.
These two play each other every week.
Yeah.
The headline news has got to be Kevin De Bruyne coming back to the Etihad. I think De Bruyne coming back in person probably before his statue is even ready.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because he's going to be fated. He's just been feted with that big farewell in May. He's coming back again already. But for De Bruyne's going to be loving this, isn't he? Because he didn't exactly keep it a secret that he thought City had made the wrong decision in ushering him towards the exit door. He stayed in Europe partly to prove that I have still got it, and now he can prove that he's still got it right in front of Pep.
Yeah, and Hugo Vallano was asked for his thoughts and spoke warmly about our club legend, Kevin De Bruyne. Hugo Vallano, who one of the first things he did when arriving at the club as sporting director is say, nope, Kevin De Bruyne is not having a new contract, see you later, which, De Bruyne felt very hard. Like, it was a very painful time for him. He didn't take it well at all. Not that there's sort of any way that you should take it, but like you say, De Bruyne clearly thinks that he can do a job, and, he was linked with a move to Saudi Arabia or the US, and instead he went and joined the Italian champions, who are in the Champions League and who will be coming to the Etihad looking to, get a result. So if De Bruyne can play a part in that, he will be very, very, very satisfied, I would say.
Yes, I think so. He scored on his debut, didn't he, at the weekend, albeit I think it was a bit fortuitous.
Yeah.
And, he's obviously only, he's a demigod in Naples compared to Scott McTominay, which is something I never thought I'd say. But yeah, he's going to be desperate to prove a point. And like you say, there's plenty of returnees, I guess. It felt like the whole draw was based around players coming back.
The big interesting one as well is Galatasaray at home, because obviously Leroy Sané has gone there from Bayern Munich, so that will be a nice farewell. But also
Ederson, Akanji, Gundogan, Moonchester. They want a lot, don't they?
Yeah. Ederson has been moving to Galatasaray since about 2013, I think. It's been that long in the summer window. But they kind of, it was a thought after the Spurs game that, like, if anyone leaves now, they ain't getting a farewell. They're not getting a farewell at the Etihad. If Ederson or Akanji or whatever go. But if any of them move to Galatasaray, which 3 players have been linked with, then they will come back to the Etihad this season, which will be nice for them, but also, again, players with a point to prove. And then the other interesting one is Bayer Leverkusen at home, which means that Claudio Echeverri will get the chance to play against his employers, given he's gone out on loan and took the 9 shirt, because you can play against your parent club in the Champions League. So there's a lot of players that City will have to watch out for at the Etihad this season.
Yeah, I'm sure Eric Ten Hag will get a warm welcome back to the Etihad as well. And they've got Farid Alfred Ruprecht, of course. I've got to be honest, I have no idea if he was in the squad at the weekend or not. I don't know if you know.
No.
But a possibility.
Maybe.
He could be in the Champions League squad. So, you know, a lot of returnees. But yeah, I think, you know, the thing Vaiana said afterwards was we're pleased to avoid big trips. I mean, they've got Monaco, and then they've got 2 trips to Spain.
Yeah.
And then they've got Bodo Glimt in the Arctic Circle, which I guess is the one you look at, which is a little bit further. But it's, like you say, City should be looking to come in the top 8, I think, with that fixtures. The away games are pretty good. The interest now is we're recording this on the Friday. The fixtures are released on the Saturday. That will give us a better indication of who they play and when. And I think the first game is between the Derby and Arsenal.
Quite possibly,
so that's shaping up to be a pretty big week, and maybe a first big test for this new look City team. But like you said, you've already touched on the no trips is a bonus, and as a fixture list, it's one they should be getting through. I mean, when Real come out first, you're like, this could be difficult. But I think Dortmund, as the other pot A team, kind of summed it up, didn't it? That things went pretty well for them after that.
Yeah, and sort of Dortmund. You think of Dortmund and you think, oh, they're going to be tough because they've got pedigree in the Champions League. You know, they got to the final a few years ago, and they are usually kind of there or thereabouts in Germany, but they've kind of been on the decline in the last few years. Like Leverkusen have overtaken them, and they've not been as consistent as they would like, and they've sort of been, not all as well as has been in Dortmund. So, like, I think that is probably an easier game than it maybe was kind of 2 years ago when City played them in the treble season in the group stage. So, yeah, I just think it's going to be, like, it on paper, it's, like I say, it's a much easier draw than last year. You don't have to go to PSG. You don't have to go to Juventus. Sporting for Ruben Amorim's last game. Ruben Amorim, what happened to him? And all the home games are fairly presentable, but we would have said that Feyenoord at home was presentable, and look what happened last season. So it's, you know, a test of mentality, I suppose, for City, and again, not to link it to Manchester United and their recent struggles, but like,
are they struggling?
Well, Grimsby are pretty good, you know, but they, you know, City should be going to these places expecting to win, and the expectation will be on them to win. So have they got the mentality to carry that out?
Yeah, I guess the problem at the moment when we're assessing this is we don't really know what City we're talking about, do we?
Yeah.
Are we talking about the City of Juventus and Wolves, or the City of Al Hilal and Tottenham? And it's tempting to say that City will have learnt their lesson, and maybe a lot of clubs will have learnt their lesson, because I mean, it's still incredible that City played Real Madrid in the playoff round last year that need to finish in the top 8.
Yeah.
PSG won it and didn't finish in the top 8. There was a lot of pretty big clubs who didn't finish in the top 8, who have maybe kind of learned a bit more about this new league phase now, because it is new for everyone.
It is, and, you know, one of the big things, I mean, City Real Madrid in the playoff was big. One of the biggest things, and again, probably one of the things UEFA would have hoped for most, was PSG coming through the playoffs and then knocking out the first place team in the last 16. Yeah. Like, Liverpool must have been thinking, we've done all this work to come top, which involves winning a lot of games, but also like goal difference as well. They've done that, and then their reward is PSG, and a PSG who were finding their feet enough to go and win the whole competition. So I think a lot of obviously people will be going all out for the top 8. I'm not sure if, like, I think they've changed the seeding, haven't they? So top 4 get sort of home priority throughout in the knockouts, unless you're beaten and then that team takes it. But so maybe top 4 is what everyone will be aiming for, but I don't think everyone will be sort of going all out to finish top in a way that they would in a league, because it's just random luck who you'll get.
Well, I was going to say there's a lot of luck involved, I think, isn't there, once it's finished, to know who's going to play who. And it's it's luck with the fixtures. I mean, City's fixtures look pretty good. I think from looking at the draw, Liverpool's look pretty tough. Newcastle have obviously got a really difficult draw.
Yeah, Tottenham's look all right.
Tottenham's look all right. So it is kind of luck of the draw, because as much as you try and make it fair with all the pots, at the end of the day, like for foreign teams, Newcastle are in pot 4 and Karat are in top 4. Footballing ability, there's a big difference there. Same with Dortmund and Real Madrid. City have got both, but there's a big difference between those pot A teams as well. So.
Yeah, and City would absolutely love it if they're in a conversation towards the end of the Champions League phase where they're thinking, right, well, we've got a chance at top 4. Do we want to get top spot, or are we happy with top 4, or this, rather than what it was last season, which is like we're 26th with a game to go, and then 1-0 down to Club Brugge or whatever. Like, this is pretty disastrous. So. It's a favourable draw for City. Part of that is earned because they're in pot 1, but it's a draw that should see them through in the top 8 this year.
Yeah,
but like you say, a lot of teams will have designs on that top 8.
Yes, definitely. Transfers then. Let's move on to transfers. The transfer window is very much still open and
still open,
kicking.
Yeah.
Some clarity for City this week. Savinho is staying. Always felt a mad one. I think it's fair to say. You mentioned last week that Ederson and Savinho walked out the Etihad together after the Tottenham game, and I was thinking about it after you'd said it and thought if that was the last time they were at the Etihad as City players, Ederson could leave, look back and go, do you know what, 372 games, I've won a lot, I've accomplished everything. Savinho would leave and been here for 1 season, didn't go well.
Scored 2 goals.
I'm going to go to a team that finished 33 points lower. Just didn't make any sense.
No, that was always there was an element of, I suppose, surprise, but not real surprise that City were open to selling him and that Tottenham wanted him. But the biggest surprise in it all was why would Savinho want to go? Why would he want to jack it all in at City after just 1 year when everyone is still talking you up and saying you can do this? There's extra competition for places, but he'd kept his place in the Club World Cup.
He played more minutes than anyone in the Club World Cup.
So it always seemed strange, and the decision has been taken by City that they're not going to sell him. So that doesn't necessarily mean that Savinho didn't want to go still. He's not gone out of his way to say, I want to leave. But I think when you put in suitcase pictures on social media, it's a bit of a tell.
Yeah, the narrative has clearly been that he was certainly at least very open to it. And I mean, I guess you've got the London thing, which for foreign players is big, although it's 2 hours on the train, mate. But like you say, beyond that, the reasoning is difficult to comprehend, isn't it? I don't think we saw the best of him last season, but he's still only 21, got more to give. The reasons for leaving or wanting to leave were always kind of hard to understand.
Yeah, but of course as well, Savinho staying means that no move for Rodrigo from Real Madrid, so that will upset the people that are desperate for transfers.
Well, that's it. I mean, part of football life now is winning the transfer window, and if you're not signing Rodrigo, then maybe you're not winning the window. I mean, it would have been an interesting move because he's an interesting player, but
it wouldn't have been that much in kilter with City's just general transfer strategy. He's more of a superstar
not a lot
than
has been in the last 3 weeks.
No, but they've still kind of this year mostly gone about signing kind of young, promising talent, and Rodrigo has more to give, but he's more of kind of that experienced figure, a bit like Reinders, but he's having been at Real Madrid, he's more of a superstar and Brazilian winger and things like that. So he would have come with, and it's also a bit, you feel a bit uneasy when he's been linked with City and everyone else for 2 years plus, and you kind of think, why, if he's so good?
Yeah, I mean, he's getting squeezed at Real, isn't he? He's clearly not as good as Vinicius, but I think he plays a lot on the right, but I think he's probably more of a left winger anyway. And you've Doku, and we've talked about Doku, and should be having a breakthrough season.
It would have felt like an upgrade on Savinho, but at the same time, you've signed Savinho and said, he's the future of the club, so it would have felt going back on that. And also, it just would have been more change, would have been a new player to fit in, and as shown against Al Hilal and Tottenham, like there are a few teething issues with getting everyone in.
Yeah, and there's every chance that in 3 years Savinho is at the level that Rodrigo's at 24. I think. I don't think that's out of reach for Savinho if he knuckles down and kicks on. So, but yeah, beyond that, I don't think a lot has happened, has it? I think my favourite story of the week was James Trafford going to Besiktas on loan. Maybe Solskjaer being sacked.
Killed that deal.
Has killed that deal.
Yeah.
I mean, the big one is Galatasaray, don't they? They hold the keys to a lot. It felt like, I wrote a piece yesterday morning saying it's a great chance. The Champions League draw is a great chance for like clubs to get their heads together at the end of the transfer window here, because there's a lot of those clubs there who were trying to do deals with each other.
Yeah,
a great chance for
Hugo
Viana to get in a team in a room in Galatasaray and say what is going on, and then go to PSG and say this is what we can do with Donnarumma.
So maybe today everything's going to happen, but it doesn't feel like that way. And we're sitting here 29th of August. The transfer window shuts on the 1st of September.
It shuts in the 11th of September in Turkey.
It does, but Champions League squads have to be named on the 2nd, I think.
True.
And like the 30th of August, City are travelling to Brighton. The 31st of August, City are playing at Brighton and travelling back. So obviously Hugo Viana's not playing, but there's a lot of...
But he can still do a job, to be fair.
Yeah. There's a lot of people who sort of... It's just a lot of... There's a lot on the calendar to say that there's a lot of business still to be done. City are working on a lot of things, but it feels like they've got to get a lot of things over the line, and they don't have that much time in reality to do them.
No.
Will Akanji, Ederson and Gundogan travel down to Brighton? Ederson was on the bench at the weekend, but Akanji and Gundogan weren't. But do you leave them out and say sort of transfer? Or...
I think if Ederson doesn't go, does Ortega go on the bench? Because he's got 4 keepers at the moment.
Yeah, and Ortega has been told for weeks he needs to go, but then it's just like, that's the thing. You spend so much time talking about some players, and then it's like, oh no, he needs to go as well, and he needs to go, and he needs to go, and it's like, where does it? It's a lot to do.
Yeah,
a lot to do, and it is not typical of City to be sort of with scrambling really with days left in the window. No,
and the Ederson one, it just strikes me as mad that it's still ongoing, because this has been on for 6 or 7 weeks now.
Yeah,
he's 32. He's got a year left on his contract. There cannot be much between the two clubs' valuation, because that is not a difficult deal to do, especially when Turkey's tax laws. That's why so many big name players go to Turkey, because it's low tax, it's good money, and I don't think he wants to go now. I think he was probably keener to go to Saudi Arabia than he was Turkey. Reading between the lines last year, I think that's probably fair. But he's clearly kind of been open to a new challenge.
Yeah,
but why? It's crazy to me that a deal for a 32-year-old with a year left on his contract is being dragged out for 7. And I'm not blaming City for that, but
no, but they are to blame. As is Ederson. Like the Savinho call this week was like, right, we're drawing a line under this. Like, I have no problem with City giving players a respect to say, look, if you want to leave and you can bring an offer, you leave. But it has to be the right offer, and included in that is a sense of time. Like, there has to be a cut-off point where you say, look, you're not messing us around for the first 3 weeks of the season, because that was all around the before Wolves, all the Ederson stuff. Yeah. Like, and it's still on. We still don't know if he's staying. We still don't know if he's number one. City have to say at some point, like, look, mate, if you've not moved now, you're not moving.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing, but they probably want Donnarumma, seemingly. I mean, Donnarumma was given that huge farewell at the Parc des Princes last week, and hasn't actually gone anywhere.
No.
I'm just thinking of him now. I've just remembered that I had a dream about him last night, going to which I presume is a dream. He's not gone to Barcelona, has he?
Not that I'm aware of, but maybe.
Don't take your work home with you guys. I shouldn't be dreaming about Gianluigi Donnarumma. But like that, like you said, there's a lot of moving parts here, and maybe that deal gets done. But then
do they want Donnarumma? Well,
do they want him? And also, does Donnarumma say at some point, look, I ain't going to play if I don't go somewhere.
Yeah,
and it's a World Cup year, so I kind of need to go anywhere. So. If you guys don't want me, I'll go to wherever.
Well, that's
Barcelona.
it. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of talk about it going down to like the final hours of the window, but I would just think that would be an absolute mess.
Yeah.
To be, rushing around on the final day, trying to sell your number one and bring in a new number one. Like that is, if Khaldoon Al-Mubarak had sat down at the start of the window and said, yeah, we had a really disappointing last year. So what we're going to do is we're going to not sell any of our players for the whole window and then just sort of cram it all in bring in like one of the most important players into the team 3 weeks into the season. That's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
I think fans would have been not best pleased. So it can't have been the plan.
No. And also, the guy we're going to bring in doesn't fit with any of the principles that we've played with for the last 9 years.
Yeah. Those principles the manager keeps on talking about for goalkeepers that he needs. He's not going to have them. No. But it'll be a good shot stopper, maybe, if he brings his Champions League form rather than his League 1 form.
Yeah, well, he's clearly a world-class goalkeeper, isn't he? But like we say, he's very, very different. And the one thing, if Ederson does go, and the one thing we maybe saw on Saturday, which we didn't really talk about, and we'll only touch on it because it's not yesterday's news, it's last week's news now. But the great thing that Ederson always brought to City was that left foot, which he could kick the ball miles. Yeah. And it allowed City to make the pitch massive and the threat of going long. Suddenly you play Trafford or Donnarumma, that's not there. Teams can press them more aggressively, and Tottenham pressed them amazingly, didn't they? It'll be interesting to see if more teams do that, and maybe that's a nice segue onto Brighton because they press aggressively as well. Yeah,
and also just like Ederson has an amazing ability to pick out the right pass under pressure. Like very occasionally he doesn't, but probably 48 times out of 50 he does. And it gets City out of difficult situations. Trafford, clearly not as good. So not only do you press more aggressively if you're Brighton, but do you just say, like, let's put this goalie under pressure. Let's see what he's like. His head was on Mars the second half against Spurs. So, does he keep his place first off? Does Ederson play? Does Stefan Ortega play? And if you're Brighton, you say, look, whoever's in goal, we really push them and we try and get a mistake. So City are going to have to stand tall at Brighton. Yeah.
I mean, you can only play Ederson if this Galatasaray thing is finished, surely. I don't see that you could play him and sell him the next day. But it kind of sums up the uncertainty that is around City at the moment, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's just not... It's very, very far from ideal. And they go to Brighton... Like, Brighton haven't started the season in the best way, and like City tend to do all right there. I know they lost last season, but they usually play well at Brighton, and they picked up some very good victories there.
Yeah, the thing with Brighton is they had a big win in the cup in midweek, didn't they? And I thought they were pretty good against Everton, and they created a lot. Yeah, and it's a difficult first away game, isn't it? Because you've got the new stadium thing.
Yeah.
If Welbeck scores that penalty, maybe they get back into it. I thought they did create a lot of chances. They could have gone 1-0 up. And I still think they're
dangerous.
They're dangerous. I think they'll be top 8 this year. I could see them pushing for Champions League without European football. I think I think they're going to do really well. And this is a huge test for City, isn't it? Because we still don't really know.
We still don't.
City we're getting.
We still don't know. And after Brighton away, you've got Manchester United at home. Now United are nailed on for a victory there because they've been so bad. It's like the Tottenham thing. Like
I've only got a Solskjaer in charge.
The more it feels like City should win, the more either Tottenham or United do win. And then they've got Arsenal away. So if you're not winning at Brighton, then your first 5 games you could be, the saying goes that you can't win the league in the first few months, but you can lose it. And if you're dropping a lot of points early on, then it is a lot of ground for a team not as high in confidence as they were to claw back. So they need, and it's an international break as well. Yeah. So if they don't win at Brighton and if they lose at Brighton, then it's 2 weeks of like negativity from the likes of us.
It feels, for the third game of the season, it feels pretty big, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Especially after Tottenham the way that performance again opened up just a few of those old concerns, how flat they looked second half.
And Brighton are one of those teams, aren't they? Just like those few teams in the league, like Bournemouth, where like you go and they're like, well, City should win, because they're the better team, but like they are a very good team and very well coached, and like are better at causing City problems than other teams in the league, maybe.
Yeah, well, that's it. I think, like you say, they are very well coached, and I think they will cause City problems. And if there's any feeling that, some managers beginning to, I don't want to say work out, but kind of decipher ways to stop City, that they're easier to play against maybe than they were 2 years ago, that certain tactical trends have maybe exposed some of the way they play. If all of this is kind of, that's maybe bubbling up a bit under the surface, it's teams like Thomas Frank's Tottenham, Iraola's Bournemouth, and Herzl's Brighton that are pretty good at exposing them. And like we say, I think it'd be interesting to see how Brighton do press, because that weapon that City always had with Ederson was the ability just to say, there's nothing on short, or we're being pressed aggressively short. They've only got 2 men back. Whack, like go and get that Erling. Suddenly you're on the attack, and you take that out of City's game, and changes City's game a bit, but it gives the opposition even more encouragement, and maybe that'd be something that'd be interesting to see this weekend. Yeah. I mean, in terms of team, then, if we're speaking before Guardiola's press conference here, Ait Nouri in the Algeria squad, the Algeria manager saying that he expects City are going to play him on Sunday. But beyond that, what sort of changes are we looking at? Because we still don't really know.
No, I think Bernardo has to come back in just because he was.
Cherki's great off the bench, and they're not affecting games from the start at the moment, is he?
Yeah, I mean, from a sample size of 2, but
a very small sample size.
I think it showed kind of the solidity of Bernardo. I mean, other than that, does Nunes come in for Lewis maybe? But it's hard as well because Lewis played a very different game against Tottenham than he played against Wolves. He was asked to do a lot of different things, so it's kind of like, well, he didn't play as well, but he was asked to do a very different performance. And you would think that they'd continue with Stones and Diaz.
Rodri and Foden, do we think they're still?
I don't think Rodri will be starting. So I think Nico Gonzalez, who was all right against Spurs, not amazing, but okay, enough to earn another start. I think he needs confidence and he needs starts to sort of really grow into the role. And then, up front, Haaland obviously plays, and then I thought Bob was probably City's best player against Spurs. He looked kind of like the only attacker who looked like creating anything. Doku did his familiar game of looking threatening without actually being threatening. So does he lose out to Marmoush? Marmoush started, didn't he? Didn't do loads.
Yeah, no. Had a lot of shots, didn't he? I mean, he should have scored at 0-0.
Yeah. So again, there's plenty for people to prove going into that game.
Yeah, a lot of questions, isn't there? A lot of questions, a lot of uncertainty.
Yeah, which reflects that, we don't know City's best team. I don't think Pep knows City's best team. No. So it's a bit of an experiment. He always talks about this kind of, these first few weeks as pre-season, like not really the actual season. So it's kind of like the last warm-up, if you like. It's just that there's actually points on the line. Yeah. A big trip to Brighton.
It is, yeah. It's at least 4 hours. Yeah, it's going to be a long one. It's going to be a long day, but we will have you covered from the Amex on Sunday, and we'll have you covered on the end of City's transfer window as well. It is going to be busy right up until Monday, 7 p.m. deadline, I fear. So stick with the MEN for all your transfer needs, all of the action from the Amex, and everything from Guardiola's press conference on Friday. For now, thank you for listening. Please leave us a review. Remember to like and subscribe to get the pods in your feed. And we'll be back next week, probably on Tuesday, I guess. I'm not sure there's going to be much point recording a podcast on Monday. They could be out of date within half an hour. So at some point early next week, we'll be back to dissect the transfer window and whatever has happened at the MX. But for now, thank you and goodbye.